Oh, that's
Do
good.
not move. See, I'm taking pointers now. I have a microphone in view, so I can talk to something.
Hey, wait a minute. You got the mic I gave, because I noticed that last week you didn't use the mic that I gave you.
I did.
I felt a little
I
hurt.
always use the mic. It's just I forgot that it goes.
Oh, okay. It goes up. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's an adjustable thing there. You'll find that's also on your chair as well and your desk. Get the perfect setup. Yeah. Actually, it sounds quite good. Go lean closer to the mic.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's good. That's good.
I know.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it partly is the voice.
No, it's the mic. So, so I thought. So we're going to be talking about it. What we're going to do today is we're going to be talking about the espresso that we've got from Amoret, which is the Burundi, and we're gonna talk about. Oh, you brought it with you? Yeah, actually, what we're going to do. I did this.
Wait, it's mirrored, isn't it?
What? No. It's fine. It's all
okay.
Actually, you know what? I don't know. I don't know how this is recording. Whether it's recording both of us together or what. But anyway.
Oh, it comes up once. Whoever's talking gets highlighted in a very random way. That's okay. That's good.
Yeah. The trouble is the software people, they always change stuff and they don't tell you. So then you go through the whole thing and it's all done wrong.
I know.
Like that time with Arc Roasters and they'd taken away the record button. I spent 15 minutes, the poor people.
Someone stole the record button.
Yeah. And I was like, let me just hit the record button here. And anyway, no, what I was going to say was that for the people that are tuning in on the podcast, not visual, when we say, look at this, got to remember.
You have to go on YouTube.
That only works on video.
Yeah, while you're driving, we recommend to do that.
Yeah.
So go ahead and open YouTube on your smartphone while you're driving, and you will see what we're talking about.
Yeah. So today we're gonna be talking about the thing that you just waved in front of the camera that everybody who's listening can't see, but it actually is a bag of coffee.
Yes, which for the listeners sounds like this.
Oh, that sounds good. I mean, isn't there something just so comforting about, I don't know whether it's because we get used to it or whether there's like a natural, like some kind of instinctive comfort coffee beans provide. What?
Funny you should say that. Actually, this kind of
wasn't
noises.
Trying to be funny, but okay.
No, it's it's not funny. it's science. Crinkly noises, like for example, even potato chips crackling, they actually trigger endorphin release. So it's actually pleasurable to hear it.
Okay, all right. I'd like to know the science behind that, but not now. Before you, because I saw you open your mouth.
I was going to.
But don't make me hit that mute button. So, we've got.
I've been mutigated.
You're interrupting my intro. I was going to really try hard this week to do an intro where people knew if they were tuning in for the first time what we're going to talk about instead of waiting, for the first hour. And so anyway, Max, we're going to talk about Amoret coffee, but we're also going to, funnily enough, great segue in some respects, talk about the science of coffee in health, well, specifically in athletic performance, because health is too broad a topic to cover in one podcast. But there's a lot of athletes out there that use coffee, and we want to talk about whether there's any science to back up, or whether it's just one of those old wives' tales that coffee can boost performance, and if it can boost performance, how, and how you should take it, and when you shouldn't take it or take so much of it. So I've got some ideas on that. I'm sure you do too. I gave you loads of notice, at least 20 or 30 minutes before the podcast.
No, actually 18 minutes.
Did you not get the message before? I'm sure it was like, was it? I don't know. Was it? I don't know. Maybe it was. Maybe yes, it was 18.
No, you did give me some.
Why split hairs? Anyway, look, you're a scientist. You know this stuff.
I am actually going to wing it because I had no time to read about it.
That's important when we talk about health and safety. Is we just wing it. That's what it comes down to. Yeah. So, but we're going to talk about that. I actually got a few things, and I'm it's not. There's actually nothing. There's a lot of scientific work being done on this, so it's actually quite easy to reference the material. But I think it would be quite an interesting one to pick up on. and to merge in with our conversation on how our brewing is going, and because I've changed my brewing style, as you know, to well, two things have changed about it. The first is I'm not tamping anymore. That's actually, as I try different coffees, that's having different results, and so I'm going to talk a little bit about that.
I'm
Whether,
interested.
yeah, will I continue, or will I go back to tamping?
Or will you go back to these?
That's got the biggest knob. I mean, I don't want to say that
It's not the only knob in this transmission.
that is a very large knob, Max.
Thank you.
I have a feeling I've got a title for the podcast.
We talk about Max's knob.
Well,
I'm proud of it.
Again, for those poor listeners thinking, what the hell are you talking about? Max has got a regular size tamper with some kind of giant mushroomed size, huge wooden handle on the top.
Yeah, it's a Mota tamper actually. It's very comfortable. When I was saying, okay. I will explain later on why this is a good idea.
It looks like if you have a banister, one of those wooden banisters, and yeah, okay. So if you, yeah, look at that. That's very kind of cute. It looks like
nice.
Okay. It looks like something that should have come out from Lord of the Rings, little hobbit thing.
I think inside a hobbit that would be uncomfortable.
Please don't. It was banned. Is it possible to ban a podcast?
No, but YouTube, yes.
But I suspected people might try if they, if we continue like this.
We're okay.
They might put a petition together. so let's start. So we're going to start with the Amoret, Amoret coffee. So this is a coffee shop run with a roastery in the coffee shop down in Notting Hill Gate. Never been there. Which is kind of weird because I go to Notting Hill Gate a lot to see my dad. My dad hobbles along. When he doesn't fall over, he gets there. And he fell over. I mean, it was, the last lockdown, actually, funny enough, his hip gave way. He's 90 years old, bless him. So his hip gave way and he just fell on the floor. That was it. Oh. And he's lying there and he couldn't get back up. And he's lying there like an upside down turtle. And then but because there's no one around, because the streets are empty, because it was a lockdown. It was like the first lockdown when actually people, cared and actually stayed inside, as opposed to now. And he was lying on his back like a turtle, and some chap came along and said, do you need a hand, sir? Yes. He's a proud man, but not that proud.
No. I'm sunbathing.
yeah. So anyway, no, he didn't want to have a stick because he felt that made him look old. So this is a 90-year-old going, I don't want to have a stick. It makes me look old. Like, Dad, you're 90. I hate to break it to you, but you don't look young.
It's not about looking old. It's about being.
He does look very good for his age, though. He's an institution in his own right. So he goes down to the lovely people at Amoret, and he loves their coffee. Mm-hmm. He's sort of opened his eyes a little bit in the last few months from getting a new machine, mm-hmm. and realizing that he also now has to learn new stuff, which he's really into. He loves the fact that he now has something to new little hobby. And he's desperately trying to learn latte art from YouTube videos.
Ooh. Is he actually trying to do that?
Yeah, he's really into it.
Wow, I mean, yeah. Amazing. I love your dad.
Yeah, he's a sweetheart. So this is actually, you know what? I finished the coffee today and threw it away, the bag. Could you just hold
this one?
Could you? Yeah, that one. Could you?
How much were you drinking it? You had to open it last time.
Yeah, I know. I drank a lot.
Wow.
I've been drinking a lot of coffee, and that's not the only coffee I've been drinking. I've drunk that one. I've drunk. My voice is going. This is how much coffee I've been drinking, Max.
You're drinking a smoke or something.
I realized, and funny enough, part of it was looking into this whole health thing, this athletic performance, and I realized that I actually can drink a lot more coffee than I am drinking. So for some reason, I had cut back for a little bit, but I weigh 96 kilos, and I know to look at the skinniness of me that it doesn't look that way.
Don't worry, it doesn't.
but, but I weigh 96 kilos, and you can have, you can have, what is it? I think it's about 5 milligrams per kilo, or is it maybe 3 or 5 milligrams per pound? Anyway, the bottom line was I worked out that I could have about 600 milligrams of caffeine, and be just, apparently that's a
That
normal.
sounds like a lot. You sure about that?
Yeah, I am sure about it because I read it on the internet. So
Okay.
there's no denying it. And but actually, we're going to come into that a bit later. So read out the label, if you wouldn't mind, Max, as my lovely assistant.
These, it's fully biodegradable bag, roasted by your ass in Notting Hill.
Can you say that with a Notting Hill Gate accent, please? Mate, Notting Hill Gate.
Yes.
Okay, anyway, so it's roasted in Notting Hill Gate.
Yeah, so Notting Hill, blah, 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 Burundi, Maridadi Hill. I always read it as Mariadi, so I was thinking of some sort of mariachi Mexican.
Oh, that'd be nice.
That would be nice. You open the bag. Don't you love me, baby?
We should, yeah, but without your singing. But yes, the
have a sweet golden voice.
I'm sure your mother told you that. She never lied to you, Max. So, but no, can you imagine? We haven't had any Mexican coffee, have we? Put that on the notes. No, to do Mexican coffee. Okay. I'm actually going through ordering some more at the moment. I'll try and find some.
Mexican coffee.
Yeah, remind me. Let's go and get some. So, okay, fantastic. It's actually mirrored now, so I can't see it. But I'll. You have to remind me. So, so what else does it say on the bag? Because what is it? What is the flavor? Description.
Flavor says Terry's chocolate orange. I don't know who Terry is, to be honest.
Shut. You know what a Terry's chocolate orange is?
I have no idea.
Oh my God. You don't know what a Terry's chocolate orange is? How long have you been in this country? I'm pretty sure that actually that is grounds for deportation right there.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna pack my bag. I don't know what it is.
Well, okay, Max, did you not have to take the citizenship test when you came here?
No,
because you're from Europe. Okay, all right. So if you're not from Europe, you have to do a citizenship test, and they ask you. And basically, anybody who passes the citizenship test knows far more about this country than anyone that was born here. I can tell you.
Yeah.
So, but what they should ask on there is, what is a Terry's chocolate orange? And if you don't know, they're like, I'm sorry. That's a pass-fail question. So a Terry's chocolate orange is basically it's like a round ball of chocolate in the shape of an orange, because oranges are round.
I think I've seen it.
Right. Okay. And they're in a orange foil. So they're wrapped in orange foil, and then in a little blue box on the outside. Yeah. And they are delicious. Oh God, heavenly. You open it up, but also here's the thing. God, I'm actually salivating. Also, what you have to do, I was dieting today too because my blood sugar's high. But what you have to do is you open up the foil, and there's this. It's separated into little slices. Like if you imagine one like piece of an orange, exactly. Go. But it doesn't just fall apart, because that would be too easy, right? You have to work for like a squirrel, like you have to work to get your chocolate piece out. Because it's all kind of, if you imagine when you made the chocolate, it's all in separate pieces, but it's kind of stuck together with bits of chocolate. It's all kind of stuck together a little bit. So
that's not because it's been stored in the sun or anything.
No. It's just how it's made. And I'm sure it's made on purpose that way, because what you then have to do is you have to get the pieces out. Now, the world is separated into two categories of people: those that know the secret of opening a Terry's chocolate orange, and those that struggle and make a mess of it. So if you're just trying to pull a piece out, it doesn't really work very well. What you do is you take the Terry's chocolate orange, you unwrap the thing so the wrapper's flat on the table. You pick up the chocolate and you tap it hard, bang, like that. And it just cracks all the chocolate inside and the pieces come out. It's delicious. Delicious. Okay, so anyway, back to the flavors of the coffee.
It's got
some Terry's chocolate orange.
Very elaborated thing. I didn't have to do any of these ceremonies to get the flavor out. Actually, I did not get that flavor out, to be honest. So Terry's chocolate orange, which now I know it's a flavor. Chestnuts, roasted oolong, whatever.
That's the tea.
I don't know what it is, and also I don't know what it tastes like roasted.
Well, that's a very good point. Keep going.
It's probably like one of those keywords. Red berries, syrupy.
Yeah.
What
all right.
kind of flavor is syrupy? I don't know, but it's good.
Yeah. Who's going to go first? Shall I go first?
Yeah, you go ahead.
All right. You don't want to play paper, scissors, stone for it? I'll just go.
Yeah,
Never mind. Okay. So, all right. So the Terry's chocolate orange, I definitely got some orange. And the chocolate's one of those keywords that I know a lot of coffees kind of have that chocolate taste to it. So I think there's a little bit of marketing in there to say Terry's chocolate orange, possibly some brand infringement, but I don't want, if Terry's are listening or whoever they are, pretty family and company, just leave him alone. All right. Don't touch my friend. But I would say that it's kind of there, but it's not like, I wasn't salivating over the thought of a Terry's chocolate orange in a coffee cup, but I can see where that's come from. What was the next thing?
Chestnuts.
Definitely chestnuts. Definitely got a nutty thing out of there that I would attribute to chestnuts.
Yeah, fine. And for all the listeners around the world, because we have 25 listeners scattered.
Always have 25. Doesn't matter
25,
what it
25.
Is. Always just so the listeners know. It's
an act of modesty, Yeah. UK is one of the hardest places in the planet to get chestnuts because no chestnuts grow in the UK.
Oh no, that can't be right. I used to have them.
Oh yeah, they rot. They rot very quickly before they can actually go and taste nice or mature.
I used to have them when I was a kid, walking around in the farm.
Yeah, and they actually, there was a plague for chestnut trees and chestnuts, and they don't really. It's very.
There's not that many of them. They all died out. Now, what is?
Most of them, they come from Italy. They come from France. You can buy them from shops, but if you look at the tags, they're always imported.
Yeah.
Something similar happened in Massachusetts, and I know incidentally because I lived there for a couple of years, and they had the same thing. It's a great place for chestnuts. It's just that all the chestnut trees died off in a very short period because of a plague.
There's a number of diseases, that go around and affect trees. It's a real shame. So
they're replanting them, but the interesting thing is that you actually chose this coffee in this particular period where in Tuscany, where I'm from, is quite common to have chestnuts in this period because it's autumn. It's actually season for chestnuts.
Wow, and that makes me sound really smart.
I know. You did that on purpose, totally, didn't you?
Yeah, of course. I knew that.
Absolutely. I don't doubt it. And I got actually a few days ago, I got from my wonderful, amazing wife, I got some chestnut flour, which makes a very, very simple cake, very simple and nice cake that it's a non-raisin raised. No yeast.
It doesn't raise,
It doesn't raise.
It's not a self-raising flour, so it's
You mix chestnut flour with water. Pine nuts and rosemary and a bit of walnuts. And put it in the oven and take it out when it's cooked.
Okay, interesting. So now we're doing recipes.
Also recipe.
I had. I know. I've never heard. That's interesting. I never heard of chestnut flour. I mean, almond flour is a thing. Coconut flour is a thing. I have both of those, but I don't have.
Very particular because it's you can only have it in a very short period of time because it doesn't.
It doesn't store well. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, your wife's very nice.
It looks chocolatey. It looks more or less the color of these bags, a little darker.
Yeah, which is brown for those listeners.
It looks very roasty. And it's very nice. It's got a bitterness to it and a sweetness at the end. So it's actually reminds me of coffee in a way.
Okay. What's the next ingredient on the flavor on the
next ingredient roasted oolong.
Okay. So this is an interesting one I wanted to talk about because I know what oolong is. So those that don't know what oolong is, it's a shut up.
Count me in.
It's a it's a type of tea. It's a type of tea, Max. Like it's a Chinese tea, oolong.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually very nice. It's a green tea that you have without milk, typically, and it's a very nice flavor, especially if you have it sort of organic and fresh, and it's a really unique flavor. And you know what? I definitely tasted the oolong. I mean, I would not have known. In fact, I've had a few Burundis, and I would say they've all got that oolong in there. And it was only when I read that and I thought, that's how I can describe that flavor. Now, the roasted oolong bit is kind of interesting because I don't know why you would roast oolong. I don't know.
So how does it change? I
don't know. I think those guys at Amoret in the evenings after the doors are shut are probably doing some very strange things. Illegal, but I wouldn't like to say. But I could kind of get where they came from with that whole roasted oolong. It's a lovely description, but also it's kind of accurate. You do get this. I would say, and I've actually had Burundi coffee in some different parts of the world as well. And I've always had the same flavor that I couldn't put my finger on to describe what it is that makes it different and kind of special.
And it turns out to be roasted oolong.
The roasted oolong.
There you go.
Now I know. And next time I pop into a cafe and I have a Burundi, I'm going to say, oh, I can really taste the roasted oolong. And then
you have to work on your slurping. It's more. You have to be more.
Okay. All right. Well, I just don't want the barista to think I'm blowing kisses at him.
Maybe it works.
I got to
know.
Can I just move into some politically difficult, awkward and sensitive territory here?
I think it's about time. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't know how, maybe somebody can help me with this, because when I'm chatting to somebody like on Instagram, so there's quite a well-known coffee person that I talk to on Instagram sometimes. And it's a she. She's a she, obviously, because I said she. So she's a she, and she has a lovely cat. And I basically talk to her about a cat more than I do. I don't talk about coffee. I send her pictures of my cat and like that. But I always feel very awkward because I don't, there's a line that you can't cross where you start becoming creepy. I don't know her, and I've just contacted her and sort of said, "Oh, I love your cat," or whatever, something stupid. And
as long as you use cat as a word, that's fine.
Yeah. Don't please no. But anyway, my point is that so I want to, but I'm always very conscious every time I send a message, like, "Ooh, is that too much? That's 2 messages in a day. Better not do that." And I would never have that kind of thought about sending messages to a guy. But to a girl that I don't know, I feel like I've got to not be creepy. And so, but the effort of not being creepy
makes it creepy.
Itself kind of almost creepy. I don't want to be a creepy person.
It's like, oh, please don't overthink it. I'm already doing it.
Yeah, it's exactly that. I mean, is there a rule that I need to know about?
Probably, but I don't know it.
Okay. Does anybody know it? All right. I'll just continue being.
I think you just wing it. It's good.
I'll just try not to mess with it all. Okay. So, is there anything else? Roasted oolong?
Red berries.
Yeah, the red berries, definitely. They came through in spades, as they say, mate. Definitely. So actually, it's a pretty accurate kind of description. However.
Wait. There's another one.
What? Oh, syrupy.
Syrupy.
Yeah, I didn't get the syrupy. That was the one thing
that
I didn't
flavor?
Get. Well, I don't know what
I thought it was an adjective.
It's like I think it's supposed to talk about mouth. I interpreted that as mouthfeel. And I didn't get that, which was kind of disappointing because I love a syrupy coffee, and it was one of the things that sold me on it. So it's actually part of the reason why I'm drinking a lot of it, because if I don't get that coated mouthfeel from my espresso, I feel like this is the drawback of espresso. What I'd really like, Max, what I'd really like is to be able to drink like a grande americano of ristretto, and not not, you know, have a
Not
heart attack
die
as a
of a
result
heart
of it.
attack,
Yeah, but that's what I'd really like. I'd like just a full on, like a big 16-ounce cup of ristretto.
You could actually do it with some thickener. So you could put like I don't know, xanthan gum inside or something like xanthan gum actually.
I'm going to wait until Atomo come along and reinvent the whole thing, and that they bioengineer.
By the way, when are we getting our test samples?
Oh, next year.
From
He said
Atomo.
next year. He said he's going to send
Next
it next
year.
year. Yeah. Did you not watch the?
I started watching it, but I started watching it too late. So I was.
Yeah. We talk about it at the end. He promises me. I got him on video. I'm going to hold it up in a court of law if necessary.
Yeah. I think you should.
Said they're going to send it to me.
In terms of syrupiness, though, I have to say I had better luck with this one here with the amber.
Yeah, I did too. With the amber was more syrupy.
Yes, and one thing actually that I didn't mention last time, because I spoke very little about this other coffee. It's amazing. First of all,
which one?
The amber coffee. I
the amber's nice.
One of my favorites. It doesn't need sugar. It's sweet on its own. I was surprised how sweet it tastes. Sometimes I have to add sugar because it's a little too strong. That one, I had the first coffee and I was like, did I put sugar already? And I forgot. Have I got senile all of a sudden?
You know that last on our last podcast, I don't know if you remember, it was last week we did it.
A long time ago.
You recommended a particular formula for that.
Yeah. How did it go?
Yeah, it was spot on. It was absolutely spot on. I wish you told me earlier, actually. I put that down in your book of malfeasance. Did I tell you about that? The book of malfeasance. The book of malfeasance. The every time you do something wrong, I write it down in a book. Hold on, I've got it right here.
What?
Yeah, this is the book. I've got it right. So I'm holding up a big red book. It's a rather large ledger. There's a whole bunch of ledgers, and it's full. It's actually, I'm coming to the end of it. It's full of all the things you've done wrong.
Me? Okay, good.
So I need to get another one.
Only that one? I thought it was. I mean, I was.
It is. Yeah. No, you're doing well. I've only filled up the one book.
I was expecting to look more like the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. I'm going to have to make a new bookshelf to stack that all up.
It's good. It's sturdy because I'm not planning to change.
Anyway, so we had these. So that. But going back to the Burundi from Amoret, that is a coffee that you have to nail it in terms of the extraction for me.
Yeah.
Because it's not forgiving. It's not a coffee. It is not a coffee for amateurs, Max. It's a coffee for professionals like me, and one day you. But it's like how do I say it? It can run too fast, it can run too slow, it can be you really had to get that Goldilocks kind of setting to
I actually have the same thing on my notes. So I was to begin with I was a bit worried. I was like, oh god, I'm but then once I got it dialed in correctly, I was really enjoying it. I got the flavors came out, but if you don't dial it in, you don't get the flavors, and it becomes difficult to extract. But once you nail it, so 250 grams is what he sends. Is I think what we ordered. I think if I was going to be drinking that for anything other than a review, I would order a 500 gram bag. Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, because also. But we'll come on to this later, but also because when I'm not tamping, I find I use a little bit more coffee.
Yes, because probably you're not, since you're not compressing it, you need to put a little more.
Yeah.
To have that initial slowdown of coffee. Otherwise, it's just going to.
Yeah, it comes too fast.
Yeah.
Anyway, what are your thoughts on the Amoret Burundi?
So, first of all, personal preference. This is a very personal preference, and it's just what I think. It wasn't, compared to the previous one, it wasn't as interesting. I liked it, and I really enjoyed it actually as a diluted coffee. So for Americano, spot on, very nice. I never really quite got the strong acidity. For some reason, I never got it. But for total serendipity, I've been measuring the output of the coffee, And I have done exactly the same recipe, so same grind, same weight, and same time, because I use the time on the Oscar, so it's always the same time.
Yeah.
But the throughput has been very different. So I have 40 grams, another one I have 37 grams, another one I have 30 grams. And that is because I'm doing different things with the coffee, with the grinder. So I always jump from one to another, one grind to another grind. And that is always a bit challenging for grinders.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, caused a bit of a shift in the times for the extractions, and that affects actually the flavor as well. I've always had the roastiness. I found it right away. Dark chocolate, it was coming and going. I didn't really get the orangey, to be honest. But in my defense, I'm actually using a heat exchanger machine because I still have the Oscar. Buy it, someone buy it. It's good. It's great. It's amazing. And I need to get my Gadja back in the kitchen. So that, I think that it runs hotter than a Gadja, and I think that actually affects the flavors that you extract. So you tend to extract, if you have a hotter machine, you tend to extract more darker
It comes
darker
faster.
flavors.
Yeah.
Faster, first of all, but also it's more suitable for darker roasts because it extracts better the bitterness, while the acidity tends to be lost.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a few ristrettos and it was nice. You can have the chestnuts, but it's kind of, those are flavors that I can tell, but I don't personally enjoy. Me, that's just obviously me. It was a bit too dark for me, too strong, for some reason. Which is,
No, I found that lovely. When I hit that spot that you're talking about that you didn't particularly like, that was what I really liked. So I also made ristrettos with it. I largely because I wanted the more texture and more mouthfeel to it. So I moved trying to get to a spot where I was making ristrettos, and it was very intense. But if you could get the flavors out with that intensity, it was perfect.
It could be that it's just for me, I wasn't in the right mood to have that. But
no, there's no such thing as a coffee for everybody. That's why it's wonderful.
I think sometimes you also need to be prepared mentally, and sometimes you just don't want to have something.
How do you prepare mentally for the coffee?
Well,
get up in the morning.
So we have at the moment, I don't know how many coffees you have open in your kitchen. At the moment, I have
4.
A decaf that I use every morning. Then I have the Amber, this one here. Then I have the Amoret, and I have the Dominican one still. So it's when you have so much choice, you're like, what do I feel like having now? So these, it wasn't the one I would go for right away.
Mm-hmm. You poor guy, all those coffees, and you have that difficult choice. I mean, like Einstein used to just have the one suit. And in fact, a lot of minimalists, they talk about that. You have three colors or something like that, and they all go with each other, so you don't have to use any brain power. You just pull it out, and you know it's going to work. But anyway, Tan French. What's it? Who's that designer? That fashion designer? I think it's Tan France. Anyway, he's an English fashion designer. Basically, he's doing a course on masterclass, which I've just subscribed to masterclass to learn chess. Actually, not really teaching me chess at all, but I'm going with my son. We're going to try and improve our chess game, and but I'm going through all the different things in there, like stuff I would never have subscribed to or never watch. And I'm watching this I think it's Tan France, and he's talking about how you pick out your wardrobe, and I'm loving it. He's like, and you need a capsule. He calls it a capsule wardrobe. And he's like, you need to have something of this color. You need to have one of these. And it's like a minimalist kind of wardrobe. And he says it doesn't matter at that stage. If you've got a capsule wardrobe, what you pull out, you don't have to think about it because it will go with anything else in your wardrobe. How smart is that? What you need is a well, I was almost going to say capsule coffee, but then I realized that's something else.
Something else.
That's something else.
I mean, to me, it's very simple because I have to choose what kind of shade of black I want to wear.
Yeah, you're a sort of a black dress kind of guy.
I'm changing. I have some gray and some blue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
like going full colorful now.
Do you know
So-
that's a very English thing? We should probably move on in a minute, but which is a very English thing that we tend to over here wear very subdued colors because we're worried about making sort of a big statement or something. I don't really know what we're worried about, but we're worried about getting it wrong. And we do get it wrong a lot of the time. But in fact, if you get on a train, I dare you to play this game, Max, next time you're on a train in the rush hour. And you look around, see if you can guess who's married and who's not married. And the way you can tell is that those are married always have clothes that generally coordinate, items of clothing that coordinate. And that's because and I don't mean to be sexist in this. This is just, I'm sorry, this is just a fact. And I know because I've asked a number of people and they say it's true. The wives will not let them out the house. They'll say, I'm sorry, you can't wear those socks or those shoes. Go change your socks. Whereas those that are unmarried don't have that sanity check, and they go out with different colored socks on and a green shirt with a purple tie and a blue suit and stuff like that, and they think they look great. Japan and other countries where you go to like Japan or Korea or those places, they're really colorful and they're really stylish. I love the fashion. I'm not actually a big fashion person, but I love watching people and people in Japan, for example, amazing clothing they wear. So anyway, so that was Amoret. So thank you very much. We will go through that. I have not ordered our next coffee yet, Max. I'm glad to know that you've got some coffee in that. No, I haven't. I haven't. I was going to do it before the show and then talk about it, but I haven't done it yet. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do, I'm going to look for some Mexican and see if
Mexico.
I can be Arriba. Because there are apparently some really great coffees that come out of there, but you don't really see them over here, do you? Maybe it's
no, but it's a Latin America thing, coffee. So you should have quite a lot anyway. It's in the right region for in terms of equator,
right? Right.
That thing, middle band.
Equator.
I'm digging my hole here.
Yeah, it's called
help me out.
It's called the equator, and
that one.
Yeah, that thing there. Thank God, one of us is a scientist. And they call it the coffee belt that goes around because it's depending on whatever distance.
Yeah, the finger thing. We
Yeah. So I don't know what you're doing. And so. So we're going to try and find some from Mexico, and I'll have a look. But if I can't, I'm going to. So what should I pick? Maybe you know what? No, we're not going to pick a Kenyan. I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. But the Kenyan coffee's gone downhill a little bit recently.
Is it? Why?
Well, according to they've had droughts and problems with the crops. They also had some problems recently with the amount of chemicals they're using on pesticides. It's just been turned away from both Japan and South Korea a number of times. Shipments have been there because they've got too much of a certain chemical in them. And we did a story on that actually, and it wasn't the first story was like actually it was being banned. We were told, in fact, it was reported that it was just Kenyan coffee was getting banned. That's not true, but it is being turned away more often at ports because of the amount of chemicals from the pesticides residues that's on there. Wow. But apart from that, the quality has gone down. It's a bit of a crisis going on in Kenya because the quality's gone down because of the environmental conditions put down to global warming. So those people are really struggling. But I think I want to try something a bit different. I don't want to go with the Brazils and the Colombians. I want to try something different. We've done the Burundi, we've done Rwanda.
Dominican. Very rare, actually. It's very difficult to get by. And I've seen only a couple of Dominican coffee roasted locally, and they're extortionately expensive. So
yeah, well, we could do, I don't know. I mean, the Indian coffee's got very cheap at the moment.
Yeah, we said we were going to.
We could try an Indian coffee. They're really struggling, so that might help them out at the moment. They're really struggling because they're perceived as lower grade, but also the rupee. I might get this terribly wrong. I think one of the issues was their currency had appreciated, making it more expensive. And at the same time, Brazil is producing a lot of coffee. They've swamped the futures market. ICE, which stores bags of Arabica from different places and helps set the future price on the coffee commodity. They have literally been flooded with bags of Brazilian Arabica. So, Brazilian Arabica has gone up in quality and down in price. So there's a bit of a flood of that on the market, which makes it more difficult for others to compete. So we'll try some. Indian's really strong, so maybe we'll try some Indian. We've never tried that. If I can find some Mexican, we'll get the Mexican. If not, we'll get the Indian. How does that sound?
I like that. I
Sounds
like that idea.
Plan.
Yes.
I've also got something that I meant to tell you before the podcast that we're going to be talking about. I'm going to guess in about 2 to 3 weeks. But I didn't tell you, so I can't say anything. So that's just going to hang in the air like it's.
What? No, now you tell me. Come on.
I can't. I'm going to have to tell you. I'm going to have to tell you after we go off air because it's a thing. But do you remember last week? I said you're going to get something Christmas.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I didn't send it to you. I sent it to myself. I gave myself the present. I can't remember why. There possibly was a reason, but probably not a good one. And so I sent it to myself. And I'm currently doing that thing. And when I finish doing that thing, I will bring it over to you to do that thing, and then we will talk about that.
Okay.
So, I'm glad that's cleared up.
Yeah, I am curious.
Yeah. So hey, we're 42 minutes in. So
wow, we haven't talked about anything yet.
We haven't. No, we have. We talked about. Shh, don't say that.
I have a
people
confession.
didn't notice. What?
Oh, I have a piece of news.
Yeah.
I have bought a pour over.
Oh, have you not? I didn't know you didn't have a pour over. Do you not have a pour over?
No.
I mean, look,
why?
Again, for the
why would you have a pour over?
Not watching, I'm holding up my mug here. I actually daren't show you inside the mug because that would involve me tipping the mug at an angle where I pour the coffee out. But I'm drinking a pour over right now.
Yeah, I never did. I never.
It's a lot of fun.
Got into it. I'll tell you once. Next week I probably tell you.
Oh, you can't learn how to do a pour over in a week. Have you got the right kind of kettle?
I have a kettle.
Yeah, actually, you don't really need the right kind of, but it helps if you've got a gooseneck kettle. But you can do that. I'm just saying because I've got one. I
know, but it's just to get money out of people. Come on.
No, it does make it a bit easier, but you don't need it. You're right. But what you do need, I mean, this is another conversation to have at another time. Is this whole grinders? Because who was it? Fellows. Came out with a grinder just for pour overs.
Yeah, and I've actually seen the review from the Hoffman.
Wasn't that great?
By the way, we mentioned him again.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that's going in the book. Book right now because we were not meant to mention him.
All right, I'm sorry. So the him who shall not be named.
Mentioned Hoffman again. Okay. All right.
And, so yeah, he gave a review of that. It wasn't a very good one actually, but I see his point.
The review was very good, but the product wasn't that good.
The review is well done because he
always does great reviews.
But the product isn't. But that's because they generated lots of hype. And I was getting very aggressive ads for it.
Oh, were you? Oh, God. I was about to say, maybe that's depending on like what you've been browsing. But I gotta read you this text that I sent to a group of people. Okay. I'm going to read you a part of the text I sent to a group of people because what I'm worried about is basically I talked to Google because this is how I type now because I can't, my fingers and I just can't do it. I get very frustrated. So I just talk and I say, okay, schmoogle, blah, 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 blah. And it types it for me. And then I hit send. And usually I look at what I'm sending. Sometimes I'm walking and talking and sending something and I don't look carefully enough. Anyway, what I sent was blah, 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 literally. And I said, each of us. And it translated each of us to eat your ass.
Ooh.
Which I sent to a group. And I would like to know what it is that I've been browsing or doing that Google thinks that when I say each of us, I really meant to say eat your ass. Because it worries me that Google knows something about me that I don't want them to know.
I don't know what to say at this point.
Well, there's nothing to say about it. But if Google's listening, if Mr. Google is there, please, could you just let me know? Thanks very much. And I'd like to enact my GDPR rights to do that data erasure on that, whatever that is you know about me. Thank you.
I don't know. Whenever I try to send a text using dictation, is always a half disaster, because I don't know if you guys noticed, but I have an accent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it doesn't really go well.
It doesn't go well, does it? It doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. No. I know.
I was actually trying to listen to I think the Smashing Pumpkins, and I ended up having some hip hop mixed with, I don't know.
Well, did you ever watch that that famous YouTube comedy thing years ago with the two Scottish people in the elevator?
Yes.
Trying to say,
and 11. I did relate to it.
Yeah. And they're in the elevator. So those, again, if you're listening to this, it's like two Scottish people go into an elevator. This is like it's 10 years old now.
Yeah.
They're going, it's one of those newfangled elevators. You got to talk to it. You got to talk to it. All right then. Oh, you give it a go. He goes, 11. 11. And the elevator's going, please speak clearly. He goes, 11. 11. Oh, for the love of God, 11. It's just deteriorates from there. Sorry.
And that is me while driving home shouting at Siri or whoever it is. Like, I said, I want to listen to sleep now.
Damn you, Google. I think we've all got that. We're going to deteriorate into some kind of society that hates machines, and then until the machines become sentient and enslave us.
That's going to be the reason why they enslave us, because we've been shouting at them for too long.
Yeah, they built up all this resentment is building up like a negative credit in the bank, and when it comes to reckoning day, we're doomed.
Yeah.
So Max, sorry, were you saying something interesting?
Caffeine and athletes.
Got 10 minutes to go. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it
now.
Let's do it now before we talk about anything else.
So, to give a bit of an opening, caffeine actually can be classified as doping if you have 2 or 3 coffees. I don't remember what the threshold.
I didn't know that, really.
Yeah, if you are a professional athlete and you have too much coffee before you have your before you do your thing, whether it's running or swimming or motorbike racing, whatever it is. I think the threshold is 2 coffees. If you have more than that, you're going to be pulled out for doping.
Right. Wow.
Do not get my advice, because I don't know what the limit is, but I know that there is a threshold that if you pass it.
Well, it's certainly a drug. They say it's the most common drug in the world or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, Anthony Gobert, if I remember the name correctly, he used to race in motorbikes, and he got pulled out for doping because he was high in THC. So
but THC is not caffeine. That's
yes. So yeah, it's weed, but it's doping. But that's not doping, because actually, if anything, makes you drive slower.
I mean, honestly, I would not want to be on a racetrack with somebody who's high on THC.
I don't know. It's either that or someone high on caffeine. If I had to choose, I would go for the THC one.
Well, I wouldn't want to be high on caffeine.
Probably going to be chilled.
Riding a motorbike, to be honest with you. I want to be calm, have my nerves with me, not have an anxiety attack.
And that's why the THC.
Okay.
That's what I mean. It's probably safer for the others.
Yeah, possibly.
But anyway, yes. So you can actually be pulled out for excess of caffeine, because caffeine is it increases the blood glucose. There was a piece from you know who, about coffee and breakfast, and about how caffeine
Didn't
can.
actually come from him. He reported it, but
Yes.
it was from a scientific paper.
Yes, my professor of biochemistry was already telling us that in 2003, I think, 2004, where the classic breakfast is a coffee and a croissant with cream. So you have all of the different things, and he was breaking that down during the course to go over the different components of the biochemistry book. So caffeine actually interacts with your body and makes your liver release break down glycogen and release glucose in the bloodstream. So it actually increases the available blood glucose. So that's one of the things. Plus, it's I think it's a vasoconstrictor. I'm not sure about
No, it's
that.
a vas. It helps.
Dilator.
It dilates.
So
Yeah.
yes, so it increases the blood flow in peripheric areas. It's slightly like alcohol, but less effective, and it doesn't interact with. I mean, it doesn't mess up with your brain, but it does. It does increase the awakeness, the speed of your brain, because I think it prevents the reabsorption of one of the neurotransmitters. And I'm not going to go
It
into
is.
how.
It's actually the adenosine
Yeah,
receptor.
I'm not going to go in details on how the neurotransmitters work, but basically what happens is that they're released and reabsorbed. If you prevent the reabsorption, you have an accumulation of these, and it acts. The effect you have is like a hyperstimulation, but you're not hyperstimulating. You're just preventing it to go away.
Interesting. Okay.
That's how it works. And that's most drugs actually work on that way. You're not increasing the production, you're just preventing the elimination of it. That's
So
beside the point.
let's bring this back to athletic performance. So
Yes.
First of all, without going to any science at all, caffeine and coffee have been used by athletes for many years because they anecdotally, before there was any science to back it up, just said, you know what, I feel better. I think I perform better if I have a coffee before the event or whatever they're doing.
Fair enough.
And certainly in the cycling world, I've got a friend who's a super keen cyclist. I mean, keen to the point that he has his blood tested regularly. He's like, I don't know. I don't know if he's like a rated or anything, but he has a coach and he has his blood tested and his VO2 max tested, and he spends all his money on. He's pretty serious about it, and he's also very serious about his coffee, and very much go together for him. Cycling is an interesting sport to pick on because it is one of the most difficult, strenuous sports in terms of its effect on the heart. When you're climbing on a bicycle, going up a steep hill, your heart rate will go through the roof. You also have to deal with endurance. You have to deal with the amount of oxygen that you can process is very important. That's your VO2 max, how efficient your body is at processing and absorbing and dealing with oxygen. And it's also very important as a cyclist to be able to deal with lactic acid. So you've got a number of different factors that you have to train your body to be exceptionally good at dealing with. So from a athletic point of view, cyclists are always picked on by anybody who's trying to work anything out because they're such an interesting demographic, right?
Yeah. Also, it's actually every small improvement makes a big difference in the cyclist world. Think of bikes that are 100 grams lighter. Now, on a bike that is 100 grams lighter, you think, how is that going to make a difference? Well, that makes a massive difference to a cyclist. For example, having a better blood flow because you had a coffee or an aspirin, because people used to do that too. Take an aspirin before you do any sort of work. And aspirin does the same, a little more extreme. It has a similar effect. So it increases the blood flow, it increases it fluidifies the blood, and makes everything more oiled, if you want. If you pass me the term.
Yeah, so it's funny, the British cycling used to be very much in the doldrums. God, I'm in the 90s, I'm going to say. We were like the worst, probably the worst in the world. It was so bad that you may not know this, Max, but the British cycling team tried to buy bicycles, buy bicycles from an Italian, Italian cycle manufacturer, and the manufacturer wouldn't sell them the bicycles because they were worried that they'd be so embarrassing it would have a negative effect on this is a true story, have a negative effect on their brand. So we couldn't even, as a British team, we couldn't even buy bicycles from reputable manufacturers because we were that bad. And they changed all this around. And they changed it around. Within 5 years, we had become a world-beating team that had won more gold medals than any other country. That we had won, I think, 2 or 3 Tour de France's. We just wiped the floor at the Beijing Olympics. We won more gold medals, I think, than any other country's ever won for cycling. How did we do this? We changed the coach, and the coach basically said, forget about big improvements. We're going to make 1% improvements. We're going to make 1% improvements across the board in everything. From washing your hands to how clean the truck that carries the bike is, to everything. Just if that makes a 1% improvement, we're gonna those will accumulate. So yeah, they take cycling in particular, but this is true for all sports. They take it very seriously, sort of the incremental improvements. So let me just read off some facts here that people can't see. I'm reading off a screen, but I'm actually going to read this off of a screen. Because this,
you can actually share your screen if you want.
I don't want to.
Okay. Okay. Ouch.
I want to. Well, no, because I don't know. I don't want to recommend this particular website.
Right.
But I do just want to. It's because it may be saying some things that are true, some things that aren't true. But there are some things that refers to a particular study that I want to without any kind of legal ramifications repeat. And that is that they talked about caffeine blocking the adenosine receptors in the brain, which leads to high levels of dopamine and something I can't pronounce, which both lead to performance boosting levels. Now, particularly what was interesting in this study is they did more of this study that he refers to 2 studies. One was, and they're reasonably recent, so 2017 onwards. They dosed up athletes for between 3 to 13 milligrams of caffeine per kilogram, and they found that the boost in performance amongst athletes was between 2.5% and 3.3%. So actually quite significant in terms of cycling. And the way that they arrived at this result, I'll turn that off for a second, but the way they arrived at this result was they took a series of athletes. You always have your placebo group, then you have your you're just drinking water group, and then you have your we're going to give you caffeine group. So
it's called double blind.
Is that a double blind? Okay, I wasn't sure. I knew it was blind in some way, but I wasn't sure how blind. So it's great. It's a double blind test.
If the experimenter doesn't know, that's double blind. Otherwise, it's a blind.
And maybe just blind then. I don't know if the scientists knew what they were giving to. I suspect they did, so I suspect it's single blind.
I think probably they wouldn't. They would know at the end because it's easy to make it double blind.
Okay, let's say that maybe it's double blind. Anyway, the point is that they did this. They found that even the placebo had an improvement. I think of about 1.2%. But those that had the coffee had the caffeine had the highest performance increases. But then they changed it around. They did another test and they said, well, does it make a difference if because there has been a lot of talk actually quite recently, I'm talking in the last month or so, about the effects of the performance boost decreasing if you're acclimatized to caffeine. So this was a concern to me. That wasn't really a concern to me. I like to think of myself still as an athlete. I used to be a bit of an athlete. I used to actually, at an international level, I did actually participate. Yeah. I actually was a British champion back in 2004. For a martial art called eskrima. So we do full contact stick fighting. I was actually a full contact stick fighting British champion in 2005.
Serious?
And represented the country in Berlin in I think the next year or something, got a silver medal. So, and actually funny enough for that, when my very first event I did, which was up in New York, the very first fight I had, somebody said to me, he's like my dealer. He said, have some of this. I said, what's this? He said, it's caffeine and creatine. So I said, okay, well, I don't know about that. He said, look. Anyway, if you don't know about this particular sport, the thing is, it's very high intensity. And so you go into oxygen deficit. Your lips literally go blue when you're fighting. You go into massive oxygen deficit. So anything where you can improve your cardiovascular, it's very much like it'll just really help with your cardiovascular. So I took it and literally was climbing the walls and immediately lost on the first round. Went all the way to York and took this stuff, climbed the walls, completely lost control, and
you ran back.
Lost my first bout, was out. What they did was, but I still follow it and I'm interested. And so what they did was they tested people who were taking high levels of caffeine and just normally. And then they took people who didn't take any caffeine at all, and then took people who took a moderate level, and they had people sort of stop taking the caffeine just before, and then they had them taking all the way through, basically to see whether being used to having a high amount of caffeine in your body and then taking the caffeine before an event made a difference. Now they're expecting it to not have as much of an effect if you were used to taking high doses of caffeine. And what they found was it made very little difference. So what it means to athletes is, because their advice to athletes before then was, for 2 weeks before an event, stop taking any caffeine, and then take the caffeine an hour before the event. Have your cup of coffee an hour before the event. And actually what they found was it makes such a marginal amount of difference that it's no point. So
you might as well have it all the time.
Might as well have it and have the benefits all through this next 2 weeks, instead of going into some kind of rehab or whatever as a result.
Yeah, it makes sense. Actually, if anything, I would say it might help to be used to it, so that you don't get completely crazy. Because I don't know if you've ever had a pause in having coffee for a while. And then you have an espresso, it hits you in the head, and good luck in maintaining your concentration. You're just going to be squirreling all the way around. You're going to go like, oh, what's happening?
Yeah.
And like a crazy ferret.
Even just not taking the coffee for a while, you get withdrawal headaches. And I'm sure that's probably a bad sign, but why risk it? I
don't know. I don't get withdrawal
headaches.
I get headaches anyway, so
I haven't not had coffee in such a long time, but I do remember once traveling to some weird place. Where was I? I don't remember. Maybe it was Myanmar or somewhere. And I was out in the jungle in Myanmar and didn't have any coffee for 3 days, and I was getting blinding headaches. I couldn't understand why, and I thought I'd got malaria or something. And they went. I had a cup of coffee and I felt all right again. So,
wow. I get headaches anyway, so it doesn't really matter. It doesn't make a difference whatsoever.
You should look into that. Maybe drink more water.
Oh, that's another one telling me that.
Yeah, everyone tells us. This is the easy way out, right?
Drink some water.
Drink some water. Yeah. Well, maybe something.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so long story short, caffeine actually does make a difference. Pretty much all the time.
It definitely does. And we're talking about like a 3%. So the general rule, don't take it right before. And actually there's a couple of things worth saying. So don't take it right before. Take it about an hour before to get the effects. Also, this is why cyclists and others like espresso, because you don't want to be chugging back like a big cup of coffee that's going to slosh around in your stomach.
And it's going to make you pee.
These are the other two things. And if you don't know how cyclists pee, there is a way.
You don't want to know.
You don't want to know, but you don't want to know how it is, and you don't want to be behind them. That's what I'm going to say. But it not only make you pee, but it can make you poop. And
that's espresso in the morning. Actually, not espresso. Actually, people say it's coffee, but it's not really coffee. It's the hot liquid.
Is it? Whatever it is, you don't want to be. If you're doing something like an Ironman, you think, I'm going to have a ton of coffee right before my Ironman. No, because if it upsets your stomach.
unless you're already pooped.
Unless there's nothing left to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want to,
I believe we're ending the podcast on that note.
well, it's the brown note.
Yeah.
It's quite cool actually. But yes, so caffeine actually will generate not dehydration actually. No, wait, that is wrong. Does not dehydrate you. Coffee does not dehydrate you.
Oh, wait. Are you sure? Because I thought
I am sure.
pee, which then meant you got dehydrated.
No, it goes right through you, but the amount of water you put in with a coffee off balances the amount of water you lose because of the diuretic effect of the caffeine. So it doesn't dehydrate you.
Well, that's presuming you're drinking water with your coffee. If you're drinking a ristretto.
If you're drinking a ristretto, it has less caffeine as well.
That's true.
So
it has less caffeine. Yeah, that's true. Unless you're drinking my planned grande ristretto, and I'm going to trademark that name.
In that
whoever
case,
Starbucks, keep your hands off your
yes.
venti ristretto is mine. That's my idea.
Pretty sure. I'm not sure it's gonna take off. Not to shoot you down or anything. I'm not sure it's gonna take off easily. But on the other hand, in that case, you would want to drink anyway because it will make you thirsty. The soupiness probably is going to make you want to drink some water.
It's a beautiful thing.
But so the fact that, for example, Americano goes right through you, it doesn't make you dehydrated. A beer dehydrates you more, and a beer does not dehydrate you. Alcohol does. If you have a glass of wine, that will dehydrate you.
Okay.
But that is because you're processing the alcohol and you're producing water, and you're using water to process the alcohol.
Flush it out. Yeah.
To process the alcohol. Okay. And alcohol has the same ethanol has a similar active site as the diuretic hormone. So it actually makes your body think that you're full of water and you need to get rid of it.
Okay. So is there anything else we want to say on the caffeine and performance, other than, I think, to wrap it up, we basically can say that it's okay to drink coffee. So you don't have to stop drinking coffee. You don't have to stop drinking coffee before an event and then take it again to kind of give yourself that little peak. You can keep drinking it. The effects of continuing to drink caffeine right up to the event is going to be negligible. It does make a difference both in cardiovascular. I've got some long words to use here, because they looked at the VO2 max once again. So if you're doing it, because depending on the sport that you're doing, you'll have different objectives. So if your objective is to have a high VO2 max, that is to say you need to be able to breathe really well and process oxygen very efficiently, that's VO2 max. Well, the VO2 max
why you keep calling me?
What?
It's the VO2. Okay, fine. Well, why do you keep saying
the VO2 max?
It's the VO2 max. Okay, I got it.
Too oblique, Max. Too oblique. The VO2 max test improved, like in every test that they've done. They got an improvement in VO2 max. They got a 5% improvement in peak power versus a placebo. And they were talking about a reasonably moderate, I think they're talking about 3 milligrams per kilo. So depending upon your weight, because the amount of caffeine that you ingest should be related to your body weight.
Yep, that's how you normalize it.
Yeah. So there isn't like a single number that suits everybody. It just depends on your body weight. And they were talking about 3 milligrams per kilo. So in my case, what I'm 96.
Roughly to 100, and it's roughly.
It's only 288. So I only need to take 288 milligrams. Generally speaking, is there about how many milligrams? It's about 80 milligrams in an espresso of caffeine.
Yeah, probably less than that. It depends on the beans. It depends on the
it depends on how they're roasted and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But let's say
example, Arabica has lower content of caffeine.
And Robusta. Yeah, that's true. That's true. If you want your caffeine, go for the Robusta, baby. That's where it's at.
Mhm.
So 288 milligrams, that would be roughly, we're talking about 3 espressos, 3 to 4 double espressos.
Mhm.
So I'm well in. Like, for me, I normally only have 2 double espressos, maybe 3. A pour over, any kind of immersive brewing method is going to result in quite a significant amount of more caffeine than an espresso, because with an espresso, the water is in contact with the coffee for a relatively short period of time.
And caffeine is not very soluble in water. It is soluble in water, but not very.
Right. Oh, is that why? Okay. So, but when you're immersing your
While you're
coffee,
heating
sitting
it.
suspended in hot water, then the caffeine is
well, you're
extracted
both
from it.
resuspending, so you're both dissolving it and extracting it, because
Right.
you not only have to get it in solution, but you also have to get it out of the powder. So if you have espresso, it's very efficient in extracting, but you have limited time, high flow rate, so it's a balance of things, and that's why you have lower content. If you have for example, if you're capping, you're going to have the powder wet and in contact with water for 9 minutes, 10 minutes.
9 minutes. Well, if you're doing it properly.
Yeah, I mean, so roughly 10 minutes, and that means that you're going to soak the beans right through, and everything that is in is going to equilibrate outside. So that's why you have a much higher extraction of caffeine.
Yeah.
And
so the answer is actually, depending on what sport you're doing, drinking an Americano or something like that or a French press cafetiere type coffee might be the way you want to go, but then you just got to take into account that you're going to have a lot more fluid in your stomach, and if you're having that an hour before you go, that might not be what you want. And different people react in different ways to caffeine as well. So moderate according to
both.
Moderate and modulate according to what suits you, because some people have more of an adverse reaction. Some people need to go to the bathroom more, upsets their stomach.
Yeah, caffeine, actually, I do have a problem with caffeine, because caffeine relaxes your stomach upper sphincter, which is the cardias. That gets relaxed and can cause reflux. So it's quite uncomfortable. Heartburn.
Heartburn.
Yeah, that's quite uncomfortable. So if you're doing a strenuous action, you don't really want to have heartburn, because you're probably going to exacerbate it as well.
What if you put salt in your coffee?
That
doesn't make any difference. That's more alkaline.
No. Salt does not change the pH. Sodium chloride doesn't change the pH.
Must do.
No.
Must do.
Chemistry doesn't.
They must do.
No.
They must do. Well, I mean, okay, so
it doesn't. I'm sorry. I can get a chemistry book. It doesn't.
But the pH. Oh, okay. That's a conversation for another time.
The pH is. We can talk about it
another time. Yes. That's done.
But it's very interesting.
Let's have that conversation. Let's do that. Let's talk about salt and coffee and water and salt and alkalinity and all that. Kind of stuff.
That's actually very interesting. I like chemistry.
Oh yeah. I might have to let you talk that time.
You could. It's okay. Let's finish on a good note.
Let's finish on that. You're a knob. You are such
my knob.
Stop showing you actually, camera, Max. Come on, So
actually,
this is your tamper again.
This is my tamper, and it's a Motta tamper.
Your knob comes off.
Yeah, it's an amazing tamper. It's very well made.
Because it looks like a light bulb. This is, so those listeners. It's like a wooden light bulb.
Yes,
that kind of shape.
What I got it for this reason, for this very specific reason, that is actually it's very comfortable to push down with your palm. So when you use it,
that looks fantastic.
It's very comfortable. So you can actually press properly, because sometimes you get this part here in all sorts of shapes. Is very narrow. It's you have to press it all the time. You can see it. How really polished my knob is.
Where do you keep that in the kitchen? Where is it?
It's next to the coffee machine.
Okay, I just need to know next time I pop around.
It's actually
if it goes missing, you'll
it's very cheap. It's a Motta tamper, 58 millimeters, and you can actually change just the tamper bit, so you don't have to change the whole thing.
Yeah,
just change the size of the pushy thing. So
The
you can
base, is that what you're trying to say? The
base,
base,
yes.
yeah.
Could be
Okay, the
58,
pushy
could
thing
be
if you want to get
58 and a
technical.
half.
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
Okay.
So that's actually quite clever.
Well, if I ever start tamping again, I will use that. We never actually talked about why and how but you know what? We've overrun. So we have to leave that as a teaser. People will just be beside themselves. Like, I really have to know how things are brewing, but I'm not going to tell you until next week. So if we remember.
We will remember eventually.
We'll remember. You'll make a note in your hand, Max, if you did like last time, on your other hand.
Yes.
And try not to be sweaty in the meantime, so we could keep that note clean.
Mm.
All right, buddy. Listen, you have a great, what are we now, Saturday? Is it evening yet? Is it officially evening? Well, it's dark outside.
I don't know. It's dark. It's confusing.
It's 5 o'clock, I think so. Yeah.
Not even 5, actually.
And watch the rest of that Atomo interview. So the Atomo thing's going out next week.
So before these podcasts or after
Monday? No, it'll probably be at the same time. The Atomo thing will go out the same time as this podcast. If you're listening to this podcast, the Atomo thing will be out. We do an interview. They're really nice guys. Actually, I really enjoy talking to them. And I have to say, I feel blessed because I realized looking back over all the interviews that I've done on the channel, and I've done sort of a few now, none of them are jerks.
Yeah, well,
I haven't met anybody. I haven't interviewed anybody that I think, God, that guy's a jerk.
Well, it must be a thing. There is probably a selection that if you're a jerk, you don't really make it. So people, don't be jerks.
I know people that are jerks that have made it, and I keep on thinking, why? Yeah, but if there was a God, they would, but they keep on succeeding, and I hate them.
Yeah, but they wouldn't do it in the long term. Come on.
You know what? I know successful jerks, but I also, but I can tell you honestly, and this is God's honest truth, is that none of them are happy. And the reason, so that part is true. And none of them are happy because they generally don't maintain long-term friendships. They never trust anybody. They operate in circles where everybody's trying to stab each other in the back and like that. So it tends to be, you hang around and you get what you give. And I do know some very successful people that are true gentlemen and really lovely people. And so when people say to me, "Oh, you have to be a jerk to succeed," that's definitely not true. There's some really, by the way, what does succeed mean? But there's definitely some rich people I know out there who have been incredibly nice. One of them in particular, one of them hired me many years ago, like at the start of my career, and was actually two of them. I think I've worked for two very rich people early on in my 20s and early 30s, and both of those people were incredibly generous and nice people, and showed me that you don't have to be a jerk to succeed. But no, these coffee people I'm interviewing, if you haven't watched Arc Roasters interview, I've been communicating with them afterwards as well. They're lovely people, genuinely really nice people. And the Atomo Coffee people, they were a bundle of fun, and again, they came across really wonderful. They were really nice to talk to. They were really fun and polite, and seemed very genuine as well. So watch that interview. It comes out because it's really interesting. So that's one to look out for. And then next week on Tuesday, I'll be recording a new interview. I'm actually you're gonna love this one, but I'm not going to tell you who it is. But it is the CTO of a machine manufacturer, an espresso machine manufacturer.
Oh,
yeah. And I already did a chat with him earlier last week, and to talk about, so it's meant to be like a pre-interview chat where we sort of line things up, what we're going to talk about. And we just talked because it was so interesting.
I need to ask questions then.
I know. I'll wait till if you're good, Max, I'll have to check the book, see how good you've been. But if you're very good, I might tell you who it is afterwards. Let's finish it there, buddy.
Yep.
You have a great Saturday evening.
You too.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.